Welcome to Backpass with Ras, and this time we're gonna go to a different continent. We've covered the Euros. We've had different nations, the big nations, especially of the European in the UEFA European Championships covered. The European Championships have already started. In fact, as we are speaking now, we've got a game going on between Croatia and Albania. So that gives you a gist on when we recorded this episode. But at the same time, the competition that is older than the Euros, in fact, is going to be starting on Friday morning if you are in Malaysia, Singapore. Thursday if you are probably in the host nation, United States. And that is Copa America. And on this show, I've got our friends from the Bola Bola Show collaborating, Mr. Sivan John, and after a very long time, Mr. Bala. It's such a pleasure to see you on the show, Bala. So, Bala, how are you doing?
Hi Ras, hi Sivan. I think nice to back to the show again. I'm very privileged again, once again, as you are honored, especially talking about our favorite team and favorite tournament as well, and a lot of memories, good memories, and I think it'll be one of the greatest show of this year. I think, I guess.
Okay, Sivan, we've spoken to you quite a bit as well, but once again, always a pleasure to have you on the show and for you to share all your knowledge as well. It's amazing the knowledge that you have stored in your brain and memory. So, Sivan.
Hey, Russ, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, thanks a lot, man. And I think you summed it up well. This is how do I say, one of the perfect summers for football fans. We are spoiled for choice when it comes to games. As you mentioned, the Euro is already kicking off. I think today is going to be almost 5 days into the competition. And then in Friday, we're going to have the Copa America. And just to give a context, how suffering is going to be for us in Asia, because all the matches are not going to clash with each other. In fact, it's almost like you could say that people who are working, good luck to you all, man. Good luck. God bless you all, man. Because you're going to have your Euro starting at 9. You're going to have a fixture at 12. You're going to have a fixture at 3. Then I believe for the Copa America, you're going to have a fixture at, I think, at 5 or 5 in the morning, 8 in the morning. Yeah, 7. So good luck, man. Good luck. God bless us all and wish us all the best.
Got to be, if you want to catch the Euros and the Copa America, you got to be a vampire.
I think more than vampire, because I think the Euro still okay because you still can catch up. But I think the most important thing is the Copa, because we're watching during working hours.
So, yeah.
Especially like you fellas work from home, I think there's a flexibility. The guys who go to factory, I think good luck.
You have to hide using your phone, quietly and see,
I think certain things I just want to keep it low,
you know what I mean? Okay. Hopefully our bosses are not here listening to this.
Okay, right, Sivan, please share with us the context of this tournament, Copa America. What makes it special? How many, after how many years is it held? Because we remember also at times, especially we'll speak about this, of course, because we were speaking about Copas in the 90s and the noughties. And we'll, of course, share our memories of those times. But we remember normally this tournament will kick off at least a year after the World Cup. But, along the way, suddenly, there have been times where the Copa have been in the same year as the Euros as well. The gap sometimes varies. So just give us a bit of context as well on this tournament.
Okay, I think the most quite often, Copa doesn't really get that much recognition because people tend to think of it as some kind of annual tournament because, it's been held more frequent than the Euros and all that. But we need to take into consideration that CONMEBOL is only consisting of 10 members. So you can't compare it with other confederation who have more than 20, 30 members. So in that kind of scenario, yes, it perfectly makes sense to have your major tournaments 4 years once with qualifiers taking place. And then in between, you have your World Cup qualifiers and all that. So for CONMEBOL South American teams, basically, in order for them to have a more competitive fixture, which can help to improve their ranking, obviously, there is the World Cup qualifier, which takes about a 3 years gap. And then in between, you definitely want to, take part in other things. So the only thing that you can do is, have the Copa America as frequent as possible. If you look at the history of the Copa America, there's never been a fix in terms of in terms of like whether is it held 2 years once, 3 years once, or 4 years once. It has been held back to back as well. The latest, I think, we witnessed it in 2015 and 16. So yeah, that's a bit of a context to why I say that this competition is done differently compared to other confederation.
Okay, another thing that's different, I notice, is that there are nations outside of the CONMEBOL invited into Copa America. And why is that so?
Okay, I think it's part of the effort to basically to improve the competition, give it a little more edge than what it is, I suppose. And most of the time, if you look at it, the trend often comes from CONCACAF nations who, in a way, share similar culture, similar language, and all that. And at the same time, teams like Mexico and US who regularly take part in the Copa America, they want to get that exposure to play with South American teams. Obviously, they're not going to get anywhere else, so this is the best thing they can do. And also to give the listeners some background, CONMEBOL and CONCACAF, they have this MOU understanding. They signed, I think, sometime back in the early 2010s, if I'm not mistaken, whereby the idea is to not only invite countries from competing on both sides, but also to have the Copa America being held on US soil. This is going to be the second time. First, it was 2016. 2016 was special because it was the 100th year anniversary of the Copa America, and now it's been held again on US soil.
All right. So, okay, that's some context for everyone listening and watching this episode. So let's get down to what we do best, that is going down the memory lane. So let's get to the 90s and the noughties. In fact, we'll cover this era of football of Copa America, and we'll start with something that Sivan and Bala, I'm sure, would love to talk about because it involves their favorite country, Argentina, being dominant in these two Copa Americas, which is 1991 and 1993. So, Sivan, I know you're a bit of an older fan than Bala in this aspect. 1991 was also the last time that the Copa America was only held consisting of nations from the CONMEBOL. What are your memories of the 1991 Copa America? Because for me, 1991-93, I only started watching football, following football, probably 91. But I have no idea of Copa America at all until much later in 95, and that's something we'll speak about. But here, this tournament, how was it for you, to follow the progress of the tournament and of your favorite team?
Zero. I also had no idea about it in 91, to be honest. The first time I knew about a Copa America was reading through the pre-World Cup magazines that came out for USA 94. And quite common, you can see that picture of Oscar Ruggeri holding a very big trophy. And that's when I got to know that this is actually the Copa America. It's the South American equivalent to the Euro. And Argentina won it in 93. And then, of course, starting from that point, digging a little bit on the history of the tournament, then I realized that Argentina actually even won it in 91. But what I can say is that what was interesting about that era of Argentina is because they did quite well to win back-to-back. But most importantly, also, they showed enough resilience as a team that they can move on from the Diego Maradona era. As you know, Maradona, after Italia 90, he didn't announce any retirement, but he took a sabbatical off from the national team to focus on club. And of course, along the way, he had his legal issues and all that. So for a good 3 years, the national team had to play or perform in such a way without having his shadow casting over the team. And the coach they got on board is a coach by the name of Alfio Basile, who that was be his first time. He had 2 stints with the national team. That will be his first time. And he did quite well to bring in a new breed of young players. Of course, the most common name you will hear in this era is Diego Simeone, Fernando Redondo, and of course, Bala's favorite player, Gabriel Batistuta. This competition was the sort of like the platform to which Batistuta introduced himself to the world.
Yes, and the 91 one is a bit unique also because first you had 2 groups of 5, and the top 2 will then go into the second round and they play another round of round robin matches, and the team with the most number of points was the champions, which is Argentina. So there wasn't any final to play in per se. So there's a unique format, and probably the last time they had that format, because after that there wasn't such format anymore. The 93 one was also the first tournament where you had invited nations from outside the CONMEBOL taking part. So America, United States of America and Mexico were the first two nations to participate in 1993 Copa America. And you mentioned as well, Gabriel Batistuta, he announced himself in a big way in this tournament. The 93 final, do you have much memories, or in fact, even the 93 competition? Do you have much to share? Because I remember, okay, I know you do not know much about it. So I guess your first Copa would have been 95, Steven?
Yeah, 95 is basically the Copa America that I first managed to follow it from the start up to the beginning. It's also basically the first time ever that we had Copa America broadcast live here in Malaysia. Wasn't really expecting, to be honest. As far as I know, when I was reading through the papers or news, there was nothing mentioned about it. We had no clue at all that it's going to happen. But, then I think a few days before the tournament kicked off, we saw the advert on TV. Oh, man, you were very excited about it.
You went to school then,
Yeah, bring you in now. Tell me about it, your memories.
Maybe you want to go, Bala? How many times you skip school to watch the game?
Right, this game I remember because I think they started out with a good qualifying game, in the group phase especially. But I think the group they had US. I think that was the what do you call it?
Yeah.
A dark horse. But I still believe that this one will go far. But I think the game against US where they lost 3-0, I think quite a thrashing they got. I think that day I was cool because I thought Argentina could like walk over the game three win in a row. Then while this happening, that day unfortunately I couldn't find a sneaker when the draw was made. I think they met against Brazil in the quarterfinal, and then unfortunately I couldn't watch the game. But the school was high everything, and we first started betting. With Argentina Brazil was 10 ringgit at that time. Was something going on there. The interesting was the I think the game was around 2-2. I think Argentina was giving a good fight until I think Tulio did the hand of God or something like that. It was a revenge for thing like that. But I think we fall in the penalty shootout. I think that was the starting point of all of this, the penalty. What headache against the big nations.
The curse lah, penalty shootout. Yeah.
Especially against Brazil and Germans lah. I think that was starting point. I think.
Yeah.
But overall, I think we had a good tournament. But I think unfortunately the US game I think disrupted the flow of the game. Whereby we unfortunately I think it would meant that Brazil. I think if only won the US game or at least draw, I think would have went far. Maybe even perhaps facing Brazil in the final. I think that was the disruption that happened. I think.
Yeah, totally agree, Bala. Because the first two games we played very well. I think we beat Bolivia 2-1. Chile, we hammered them 4-0. Then the match against US, coach Daniel Pasarela decided to rest a big chunk of the first starting lineup players with reserve players, and basically backfired us big time because US was, obviously they had their best players, so they won 3-0. I think it's one of the biggest shocks. If you ever had a chance to meet Alexei Lalas in person or even hear him talking about US men national team, he always tends to repeat this particular reason and a few others, because, he was part of that generation of players that produced one of the most outstanding. For that time, you have to remember, for that era, USA national team to produce kind of result is definitely outstanding. And of course, we cost us a chance to finish on top of the group. And because of that, we end up playing Brazil in the quarterfinal. Now, that game, what I can share is that I didn't skip school. I just I went out as normal, left the house as normal, but I came back because I told my parents, I think there's a bus interruption and all that, so I can't get to school on time. Of course, I do not know whether they bought the bluff or what, but the whole idea was to come back home and watch the game. So the rest is history.
How old were you guys at this point?
15. Yeah.
15. So that means you were in secondary school, Sekolah Menengah.
Yeah.
But it's strange, basically when Basile did the decision.
Pasarela.
Pasarela did the decision. And this was again seeing that he knows his Blues might meet Brazil in the quarterfinal. So I don't know.
I think he was too confident. Again, you have to remember, USA at that time, Yeah, I mean they were a good, decent side, but
Mm,
the respect for them really wasn't really there, lah, especially among the elite nations. So it was
yeah,
just logical that he wanted to rest some of his first players and put up a weaker team, lah. And if sometimes when I look at that lineup, also I can't really recall any of those players ever wear a Argentina jersey again after that. Yeah, so
oh,
that
okay,
tells you a
okay.
lot, lah. Who are the players that were at that team? Although they had Simeone, they had Batistuta. I think one or two key players were there. Of course, Gallardo started the game. He was a very young player at that time. So yeah, but it is what it is, lah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
For me to share this memory about 95 is that I know Malaysia during June you would have a 1 week school holiday. In
Mhm.
Singapore, we had a 1 month school holiday in June.
Mm.
So it just happened that, I was just channel surfing one morning. Lo and behold, there's football on TV. Can't believe it. Football on TV. So this is quite fresh after the World Cup 94, the year before. And you wake up in the morning, you watch there's live football on TV on RTM. And then thereafter you just watch every morning. You wake up, watch, okay, today this game. We don't know what the matches will be or who's going to play against who, what the schedule will be like. We do not have access to all of that. All we needed to do was just wake up, watch on TV, and you would see, okay, this team's playing that team, and then we'll get we get some knowledge about it, and you start rooting for some of the teams. So obviously, I think just to go back a bit more to the past, I think in this part of the world, I mean, for those who are listening, not in this part of the world, from somewhere else, maybe even from South America, just to give you a context, I think those people who Brazil and Argentina, undoubtedly the two biggest South American nations that are followed here in Southeast Asia. Most people who were Brazil fans will probably come from the 1980s, from
Yep.
1982, 86. Those are those people who be today maybe 50s, in their 50s and 60s. They've started following Brazil from then. And then the Argentina fans would come 4 years after, during Maradona's prime in 86 and then 1990. So Argentina fans would come from there. Obviously, then it gets passed on to the next generation, the knowledge about and the love for these countries, and they're on deaf, and that's how it's gone on. And 1990, of course, we had this very colorful team called Colombia with a eccentric goalkeeper called Rene Higuita as well, that
Oh, yeah.
captured the imagination of a lot of people, because obviously, we in this part of the world is very Eurocentric. We've spoken about this. Our football knowledge and our football understanding is very Eurocentric. It's all about the European leagues and the nations. So South American football is a bit exotic for us, the teams. So, then you had Colombia with their colors, their jersey colors were also very colorful and striking. And you have players like Valderrama and all with their big hair. It's quite a stylish team, so to speak. So 95, after the World Cup, 94, we had Colombia again had a tragedy around them in that tournament. And then 95, you have United States in the tournament. United States did well in the 94 World Cup. And we all know the United States at that point, they're not a football nation. We watch Hollywood movies, they never talk about football. Their football is American football. It's never the football that we know. It's always for that football, baseball, basketball, but it's never about the football that we love. So America, United States did well in the World Cup they hosted, and here they are in the 95 one. I remember that match with Argentina. It was a big shock for me to see Argentina lose 3-0. And for me, I'm a neutral when I watch Copa America, of course. But Brazil, after 1994, especially, became my rival after what happened in the final of that World Cup. So Brazil, my rival. I will not support Brazil. Argentina, I don't have anything against them, but they're a big team. So there's no. I feel if Argentina or Brazil win it, it's probably like expected. So I go for an underdog. The underdog, unfortunately, is not from a CONMEBOL nation. It came from Mexico. Mexico impressed me in '94, not because of the way they played. One reason was, of course, Jorge Campos was such a colorful character as well. The second reason is because of the way they sang the national anthem. They had their hands across the chest like that. I felt that was quite stylo. So That's quite stylish. So that like impressed me. That stayed in my mind. So, and when I was watching Copa America, I saw, oh, Mexico is in there. So I was supporting Mexico. And then, of course, they didn't go too far in this tournament. But then as the tournament went on, the other nation was Uruguay. So Uruguay, I was always, looking at the squads and looking out for players they are familiar with. So Uruguay had some players that were playing in Serie A, and they had a player from Inter, Ruben Sosa.
Ruben
So
Sosa, yeah.
yeah, so that's why so I was supporting Uruguay, and they won the tournament in '95,
I
and
think
it was
Paulo Montero was there also. Paulo
Yeah.
Montero was one of the few players, yeah.
Enzo Francescoli is such an iconic character, such an iconic player. Not many people talk about him a lot, but that tournament was the one that he shined, and made himself known to everyone else outside of
Zidane.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's my memory. A lot of a lot of things that I've shared there in a moment. So that's 95. Uruguay were the champions. Moving on now, 97, 99, not very good memories for the two of you because your arch enemies, Brazil, won it. Okay, I just want to ask you, as Argentina fans, what does Brazil mean to you?
I mean, definitely rival for sure, but a respectable rival. I mean, they at the end of the day, I don't really despise them or hate them or whatsoever. I respect them as a rival. And in fact, many Brazilian players were even my favorite football players when I was growing up, particularly Romario. I liked him because, he was a kaki tonjol guy. I play football as a kaki tonjol guy. I'm proud of it. It's my bread and butter, the way I play my game. All right. Some people
I've experienced personally many times.
like people get kaki tonjol is, they tend to give you a bit of crooked look and all that. Give you the smirk like this fella can kick the ball or not. Hey, but it is an art form by itself. Romario, made it an art form, man. And the way he plays, the way he scores. And if I can put a very unpopular opinion here, I rate him higher than Ronaldo himself. That's my perspective. And of course, the other footballer that I truly adore watching him play, where of course this was in my adult years, is Ronaldinho. So two Brazilian footballers who I can tell everybody that that I would pay money to watch them play. And I always have the utmost satisfaction to see them play. Yes, at times they can be a pain in the ass against my team, but the way they play the game, the art they bring to the game is something that's truly admirable.
Bala,
for me, basically, Brazil. I think even I had one discussion with this first. I just don't see Brazil as rival as well. I think more like what Sivan said, maybe healthy, but I don't even look them as a rival. Rival them a hatred, that kind of thing. Of course, I know they're very formidable. I would say more than formidable, trophy winning, solid team. But I think not necessary for me to. Not necessarily. Basically, I wasn't another hating them. Especially if I rooted them like against England. Maybe England is a secondary story, but maybe sometimes with Dutch first experience. But other than that, I don't think if I had any hatred towards the Brazilian. I think
to give you context, Ras, both of us, including Alvin, who is not with us today, we paid money to go and watch Brazil play when they came to Malaysia.
Okay.
So, and it's one of the memories I treasure the most because the fact that they were here a week before the World Cup and they went on to win that World Cup. So you could say that, we sort of saw the eventual World Cup winners in front of our own eyes.
Yeah, that's something, yeah.
I would say as like Sivan said, Ronaldo, and I think I would say Romario and Ronaldinho. I think I would go on a Rivaldo and Ronaldo on the R9. Basically, I think I always admired them, especially Rivaldo, because I think there was a movie, right? The fellow always run. The fellow always running on his African Kenya.
Oh, the God must be crazy.
So I always see Rivaldo as him, but I mean, his skills is a different ball game altogether, But so I idolize guys like him always, doesn't look like so-called the glamour of footballers, Beckham. But he does the job. I think especially when he's needed, and of course R9, Ronaldo R9 is. I think I'm just speechless, And of course, not forgotten Adriano as well. I think the least.
Oh yeah.
Adriano. Yeah. Okay, so now. Getting back to 97 first, okay, let's talk about 97. Your memories of that tournament. Steven?
Not much because they didn't show 97 was not aired live in Malaysia that year. I'm not too sure what was the reason, but I guess a lot of it has to do with the fact that we were going through an economic recession. So, a lot of things, TV channels had to cut down their operating costs and all that also. We didn't get a chance to watch the Copa America. But obviously, I was following it from the newspapers because by 1994, 95, I've been following football through whatever avenue that is possible. If anything showed on TV, no matter half an hour or 1 hour show, regardless of what kind of football, I'll watch it. And also, I will take any effort to read all the papers at the shop. My dad was telling me to buy one specific newspaper. Fine, I'll buy that and read at home. But the rest of the papers, I'll go through it at the shop, see what's the news, what's the scoreline, what's going on, and all that. And so, I was following this Copa America. And obviously, Argentina, again, did well. Brazil won it. But I suppose the highlight of this tournament is the fact that it was held in Bolivia, of all places. And obviously, it favored them big time, and they went in all the way to the final. Yeah.
I think the Argentina, talking about Argentina perspective, I think they never had also. I think they lost to Peru, I think, and I think it's 2-1.
Yeah, I know they got knocked out of the quarterfinals, if I'm not mistaken.
I think quite bad also, the team.
Yeah, correct. You're right. They lost to Peru in the quarterfinals.
I remember that.
The same Peru team got hammered by Brazil 7-0 in the semi-finals.
So I think maybe that the team, I think should be. I think they had the season. But I think the post of the era.
So that one. Thanks for reminding me. So I was also had this vague memory about 97, but since Steven mentioned it, because in Singapore on Singapore TV channels we didn't really get Copa America, so we were reliant on it being shown in Malaysia. So if it wasn't shown in Malaysia, we wouldn't be able to watch it. So so I had quite very faint memories, but there's one thing that we need to point out. Brazil became the first South American nation to win the World Cup and the Copa America at the same time. So they did that with this by winning this tournament in 97. The 99 one, I remember it was shown. And there's something very special about the 99 World Cup, which is not very good for you guys. And that is Martin Palermo missing 3 penalties in a game where Argentina lost to Colombia 3-0. That will never happen ever again. I don't think so. You can never ever.
But then I want to defend on Palermo. I think he had a good start. I think he played very well. I think the game Bajista never played, so I think it's kind of interesting. I think the media at that time, I think have overhyped it. I mean, missing probably 3 in a row, of course, I would say a disaster. But I think that we have seen worse in football, just for a matter. And then I think they overhyped him, the reputation. I think then after that he went to Real Betis, Villarreal for a matter. I think it gives a different perspective. I think if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned that time when they against Real Madrid, he and Riquelme was top notch, right?
Yeah.
So I think for the fuller from downhill from there after the game, I think it's not fair to him, to be frank. But
yeah, just to give you guys context, it was only from 2007 onwards where the Copa America was taken with a little bit more serious with players who are playing their club football in Europe that will turn up for the national team. Because prior to that, because of the timing of the Copa America, that it tends to be held almost very close to the start of the European season, clubs tend to, put some pressure on the players to say that, try not to go and play because we need you to come back to our club and prepare for the new season and all that. So, and not to mention the fact that flights back in those days are not as easy as it is today, the traveling. So, for that Copa America, as obviously, when you look at the squad, players like Batistuta, Hernan Crespo, Claudio Lopez, quite a lot of the European-based players didn't turn up. So it was left on to a handful of European-based players like Ariel Ortega, Simeone, and a lot of it was heavily based on the Boca Juniors team that won the Argentinian Football League that season, specifically on the 2 main players that Bala has just mentioned, Riquelme and Martin Palermo. And the first match against Ecuador, I remember my Elwin came to fetch me and we went to Bala's house because Bala's house, by this point, the Copa America was only showed on satellite TV. So if you have if you have your normal channels, station channels, they only tend to show selected games. And for that game, unfortunately, it's not shown on national TV. So we have to depend on Bala. So we went to Bala's house to watch the game. And I remember telling these guys, watch out for this guy, this Palermo. He scored 2 goals in the game. And one of the goals was quite a very good goal, a volley, quite a very powerful volley. And so this guy is going to be the next big thing for Argentina. I mean, and of course, after that penalty had affected his reputation. But when he went back to Boca, he still scored goals. He continued to score. And I think he suffered an ankle injury that almost, could almost be a career-threatening injury. But he recovered back in time just to take part in that World Club trophy, the Intercontinental Cup, and help Boca to win the Real Madrid. So what I would say, I would agree with Bala, the criticism towards him, but of course you can't blame in the age of internet and all that, when something like that happens, it becomes a meme all over social media. It becomes, it's, how do I put it? It's something you cannot shake off. It's something that, whether we like it or not, it tends to stay forever until you have somebody who's going to miss 4 penalties in a game, I suppose.
And let's talk about the other nations as well. I know this tournament introduced me to a certain Paraguayan striker called Roque Santa Cruz. I quite like him after this tournament, watching him play and all. I thought, wow, this guy is good. Because when you talk about Paraguay, we only remember, of course, Jose Chilavert is the biggest outstanding Paraguayan player. So you can't look beyond that. Then you have like Franco Arce and Carlos Gamara, who went on and played for Inter.
Ceslo Ayala.
Yeah. So the rest all, you have some vague memories. But Roque Santa Cruz was like someone else. He was very young as well. I remember in this tournament, probably like I think teenager, if I'm not wrong. And
yeah, he was 17 years old. Just signed for Bayern. Yep.
Yeah, and that one as well. I found out, he's playing for Bayern. I didn't know. And he broke through this tournament. I think, wow, wonderful. That really stand out. My favorite, Mexico, also did quite okay. Went all the way to the semifinals. Quite an exciting run. And that team had like Cuauhtémoc Blanco, Luis Hernandez in attack.
Alberto Garcia Aspe.
Yeah, that one as well. Yeah. And so, share about the other teams that, any other teams that maybe caught your eye in this tournament?
It was the first time ever an AFC nation was invited to take part in the Copa America. Japan came as one of the invitation country. I think they...
First time any nation outside the Americas as well.
Yes, correct. I think for Japan is because, it was part of their preparation since they're going to be hosting the World Cup, the next World Cup in 2002. So, any kind of opportunities to take part in competitive games and all that is something they will value it. And I don't think they did very bad. I don't recall they won a game, but obviously, the scorelines were quite close. They did, put up a respectable performance. The team that probably impressed me the most in that tournament was Uruguay.
Japan drew with Bolivia in this tournament, and they had a naturalized Brazilian in that team, Lopez.
Wagner Lopez. Yeah, yes. Correct. Yeah. But the thing that impressed me the most is Uruguay, because most of the big names from Uruguay, specifically Gustavo Poyet and I think Paulo Montero, Daniel Fonseca, quite a few of them, again, as always, the Copa America, they opt out for the Copa America. And it was handed over to a group of young players. Quite a lot of them were very familiar to us, like to me and Bala, because they took part in the World Youth Cup in Malaysia in 97. Okay. Zalaeta, Oliveira, Carini, Alejandro Lembo, and all that. So they were there. And seeing them growing from that youth team to now into the senior
Carini
team.
also, right? The goalkeeper, Carini.
Yes, Carini was there. In fact, I think Carini made his mark in the quarterfinal because against Paraguay, the host team, they lost via penalties. So I think he made a mark in that game.
Okay.
Zalaeta, I think, scored an equalizer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, correct. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So it was quite impressed to see Uruguay, this new batch of Uruguay players coming through. And of course, they would go on to qualify for the next World Cup.
Yeah.
For me, I think the Chile team was impressed.
Uruguay. Those two players, Zalaeta and Karini, also stood out for me. And I think they had a very good run in the tournament all the way to the final.
Yep.
They lost to a
Well,
strong Brazil team.
but I think the Chile team was not bad there. I think they had
Yeah.
a partnership with Zamorano and Salas.
Correct.
I think quite a remarkable team. I think, especially, I think they became a quite. I think this team was starting point of their powerhouse. I think it was always in quarter semi-final and started to make mark in South American football.
Yep.
Yeah, Zamorano, yeah, correct. Zamorano, Salas was there. They had a good World Cup '98. That's a tournament where they again, announced themselves to us, and then so of course we all know leading up to the '98 World Cup, we know about Zamorano. He's been playing in Europe for a number of years for Real Madrid and then Inter, and then Salas also. Everyone was beginning to take notice because he beat his two goals at Wembley Stadium in a friendly beat England, and then everyone started noticing this guy, Marcelo Salas, and he had a good World Cup as well. So yeah, that Chile team also was a good one. Had a good tournament. So that's 99. Okay. Brazil won this tournament. I think Rivaldo, Ronaldo, everyone was in their full prime. Ronaldinho was there. So the start of the RRR was in this tournament, I would say.
So don't confuse with the RRR in Hindi movie.
Not the Tamil movie one. Actually, it's not really Tamil, right? It's
It's
Malayalam.
Telugu movie. So don't confuse the
Telugu,
triple R
okay.
with this triple R.
I was just hearing about it somewhere, so I was wondering, what is this RRR? Okay, I'll check it out myself later.
See the dance. I think they won Oscar. I think.
Yeah, the best choreography.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and we completely gone off track here.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to go back. Okay, I want to go back to a tournament before '97. We spoke about Brazil. Of course, we didn't see Brazil playing in that tournament, but this partnership that Brazil had, in fact, of Romario and Ronaldo was quite impressive. Was very scary for me because I felt that was a really good partnership. They both conjured up leading up to the '98 World Cup, and I really feel that if Romario had been fit for the '98 World Cup, Brazil would have won that World Cup. So that's also another something else that came out from the Copa America. And now moving on to the first World Cup of the new century, 2001. Okay, this one was very messy. Steven, please lead the way. Tell us about what happened in 2001. Why is it so messy and controversial?
Okay, for a start, it was held in Colombia. And prior to the competition, actually, Argentina did name their squad. I remember they did name their squad for this Copa America. Pablo Aimar was one of the few standout key players that was going to take part. But again, most of the big names were out. So he was one of the few standout players. But unfortunately, because prior to the competition, if I'm not mistaken, there was a high-profile kidnapping by one of these terrorist group called FARC. So because of that, both Argentina and Canada, the other nation that was invited to take part in the Copa America, if it wasn't for this pulling out, the game on Friday would have been their second time meeting at the Copa America. But because both countries pulled out in 2001, they were replaced by Honduras and Costa Rica. So that tells you just how messed up the tournament was in the absence of Argentina
Even
itself.
Honduras were called up like days before the tournament started, right? Was it a few days or so before the tournament?
I think so. I can't remember what was the duration like, but man, they came and they left
a day before. I'm just reading it. A day before the tournament. And they were brought in by the Colombian Air Force.
Yeah, and then, they left a huge impressive remark because they beat Brazil for the first time in their history in the tournament. You know, and that Copa America, I think Brazil was going through a very bad patch under, I think it was Luis Felipe Scolari. They were really struggling during the World Cup qualifiers. They couldn't find rhythm, momentum, trying to put a good team together for some reason, and then they were struggling there. And, that struggle was, spilled over in this Copa America.
I think also I think Colombia had a previous history also of this kind of incident, right? I think Mexico also 1986. Suppose Colombia was supposed to host, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Colombia was supposed to host the 1986 World Cup, but I think due to some issues, economy, they couldn't
Oh,
able
okay.
to fulfill or get things done. FIFA immediately stepped in, and it's supposed to be awarded to the United States of America, but for some reason they gave it to Mexico lah. And even there also, back in mind, Mexico went through 2 earthquakes before the World Cup. So I mean, some things just kind of void lah. But tournament took place as expected.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Brazil team also. There was no Ronaldo, no Rivaldo, no Ronaldinho. So it's quite a weakened Brazil team that they sent, maybe out of fear as well, due to the political and societal problems that Colombia had at that time. But the host nation took full advantage of it. They came out champions of this tournament. Do you all remember watching this tournament? I don't remember watching this tournament at all.
No, not really at all. I mean, because again, I think it was shown on only satellite TV, and I never had any satellite TV subscription at home, so I didn't watch specifically any single game. Followed it through via other media, and as I mentioned earlier, the things that impressed me the most was the fact that Honduras made it out of the knockout stage, knocked Brazil out, and like what you say, Colombia took advantage out of this and won. I'm not too sure if it's their first ever Copa. But
Yeah,
it
it's the first
was,
ever.
yeah. And I think the timing was right because, for the country to go through all this trouble, the success there, the national team had to winning the Copa gave the people something to cheer and smile for, in a way.
For
Winning.
me, I can't recall much.
Yeah. So you don't recall watching it, right, Bala?
No, I think the only thing upset I was even seen at the Honduras game. Besides that, I think I don't recall any game because I think Argentina wasn't there, so I was more like, okay, good luck.
Okay. So I also didn't recall watching it, but I remember following it as well through newspapers. Newspapers mostly. We had something called a teletext used to on TV, and that's something I used to watch. It's like not watch, or rather, it's something like what we have now on our phones called the live score. So the only difference is on teletext, you get other news as well on how the, footballing news about transfers, about scores, or how the matches went and all that. So a bit like a newspaper. And in Singapore, we had this newspaper called the New Paper. So the new paper always comes out in the afternoon, 12 p.m. And also you have all the latest football news from Europe. The European matches were then at maybe early morning. So all those scores and news from those matches, you will get it in a new paper. So we always be eagerly waiting for the release of the new paper. And then at 12, we'll go buy it. And then we'll get all the latest news, all the latest footballing news. So that's how we follow this Copa America. I remember Ivan Cordoba scored the winner for Colombia. So something for Inter fans to be proud of.
And I think another glaring missing name from the Colombia team is Juan Pablo Engel. Probably one of the few names to, because of the situation in Colombia, decided to opt out from this tournament. And I don't know how he's going to regret this because they're talking about Colombia's one and only major honors, and he wasn't there to able to lift it up with his teammate.
Yeah. Now going to the 2004 and 2007 World Cup. First of all, 2004 Brazil. Okay, I know these two not World Cups. The 2004 to 2007 Copa America. Not fond memories for Argentina fans. Oh, I remember these were quite breathtaking matches between Brazil and Argentina. I remember watching them. And also, in and around that time, we had the Confederations Cup where these two teams played again and played out some brilliant football, brilliant games to watch. Unfortunately for you guys, you were on the losing side again in the Confederations Cup. But let's get to the 2004 Copa America. Your memories first.
Oh boy, I don't know where to start, man. This is where I think the name that Bala mentioned earlier, Adriano, I think first emerged as the Argentinian terrorizer. I remember him saying that, every time Argentinian defenders are still afraid of him. Yeah, I think it speaks volume. I mean, okay, first thing foremost, I don't think Brazil had many of their bigger names. Ronaldo, Rivaldo, I think, was on a decline. I think Ronaldinho opted out. So obviously, Adriano was the biggest star of the team. And even the Argentina squad, not many of the key players were there. There were a few. I think one of the up and coming stars was Carlos Tevez. They had Luciano Figueroa. I think he was the number 9 guy. And then there was also I'm
There
not too sure
was,
whether
There's this Argentina player that I like, D. Alessandro.
Andres D'Alessandro. Yes, that
Yes.
he was the playmaker, sort of the playmaker
Yeah.
role of that team. They did impressive enough, but in the final, I mean, it's how do I put it? I remember we didn't watch it at home. We went to watch at a mama shop, whereby they were showing the game. I mean, it's a mama shop that we regularly go in Petron to go and watch football matches lah.
At this
I think
time, you guys were adults already, working adults.
Yeah,
right?
working already. Yeah, in fact, we took a day. I personally took a day off lah from work to go and watch the game. So I think it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Wala? I think 5. Yeah.
All of
So,
them there.
so we went to watch, and now we had this feeling Argentina lead 2-1. They're going to do it. But I remember Bala was saying, 85th minute, why can't this guy just keep playing football? Why are they bringing the ball to the corner flag? Oh dear, oh dear. I think one of the things that, because this tournament was held right after the Euro, so there was this speculation like who can do a Greece in this Copa America. I mean, if it's not Argentina, it's not Brazil, then who is going to do the Greece? My money was on Peru, the host team, but unfortunately they had to meet Argentina in the quarterfinals, and Tevez scored a brilliant free kick to knock them out. Otherwise, it could have been their chance to go all the way, and who knows, they might have win it.
I think I remember the final was the Adriano shot. I think he just signed for Inter, and then he went and celebrated with the Argentinian the bench. I think I remember Zanetti just hold his neck. I think there's a kind of a tussle there, and I thought that goal I remember I was swearing.
You mean before the Copa, he wasn't yet an Inter player?
Not yet. I think if I'm mistaken, that was
okay.
the season he signed. I mean, next season he's supposed to play after the Copa America.
Oh, okay.
And then I remember I had a feeling that that's what it lah. That's what it. But I remember what Elvin told that during the penalty shootout. I think England had no left-footed player. And we had 4 left-footed penalty takers. So I mean, that was the strength Argentina had, but unfortunately couldn't do it on the final. I think, especially towards the last minute goal was just. I think if I'm mistaken, that was Peckerman, right? Peckerman.
No, still Marcelo Bielsa.
Yeah. So I think that I mean that's easily what he did is like, But what a goal by Adriano.
Yeah, I remember that goal as well. It was crazy. He took off his shirt and he was celebrating like a maniac. And what a great game that was to watch as a neutral. So 2004 done. 2007, what happened there?
2007 is still
Venezuela.
speechless, to be honest, because that was the first Copa America where I think we sent one of the most strongest team ever.
Yeah.
Every player that I can think of from the era, Crespo, Messi, Tevez, Riquelme was there. Yes, even Ayala. Who else? In defense, Sorin and all that. I think all the key players were there, and we did put up a very decent run all the way to the final.
Diego Milito was there. Yeah,
there you go. Diego Milito was there as well.
Mascherano, I think was a.
Mascherano was there. Yeah, it was a very solid team. Played some fantastic football, especially the semi-final against Mexico. If you get a chance, you can watch Messi's goal, because the brilliant move and the chip was such a beautiful team to watch. But unfortunately, we were undone by a Brazil team managed by Dunga. And for those of you who have followed Brazil under Dunga was the antithesis of anything that what you like to call the Brazilian way of playing. He plays a very negative style, a very regressive style that really depends on having good physics, players who can run and attack on the counter. And
it's a little bit like the team that he captained to World Cup glory.
Probably, yeah, but the team that he captained the World Cup glory, you could argue that it has a little bit more flair and beauty to it,
yeah,
as compared to the Brazil team that he managed. But we were undone. But with the moment Julio Baptista scored the first goal, it was clearly not a good sign already, because we were already trying to break through their defense and we were struggling. And can you imagine? And especially the second goal. The second goal is something I'll never forget. The fact that we were outdone by the pace of Daniel Alves and the guy who was chasing him is Riquelme. Oh my goodness.
I think that's third goal, Sivan. Third goal. Second was the own goal.
Oh, that's the third goal. Okay. All right. So that tells you, how frustrating it was to watch that final. And
The second goal, the own goal by Roberto Ayala.
There you go. So everything that final just didn't go according to plan. If only mentioned earlier, Alfio Basile, who had 2 stints in the Argentina national team. This was his second time. And after the Copa America, it's fair to say that, even things didn't, between him and the national team, there were some issues. And if only, in that final, if he was a bit pragmatic and conservative, maybe the outcome would have been a lot different. But, we played in through Dunga's hand. And it worked perfectly well for Brazil to beat us. And that Brazil team, if you look at the lineup, it's almost like a Brazil B team or even a Brazil C team.
Yeah,
some of the players that at that era were playing in the Russian league, Ukraine league. I think one of their strikers was playing in the Dutch. Wagner is one of them. Yeah, was playing in the Dutch league, not even for one of the bigger clubs. And because of the Copa America, he got signed to Middlesbrough the following season. I can't remember his exact name.
Let me see. I think I know who you're talking about. Afonso Alves.
Correct. Yes, that's the name. So that tells you, how disappointing it is to lose that final. If it was a more competitive Brazil team, then it's fair. But this was, virtually a reserve Brazil side. But and I had a friend who was from Buenos Aires, who was based in Rio at that point of time during this Copa America. He told me that the situation in Brazil is that because when they saw the team, they saw the group of players, and it was Dunga, most of the Brazilians couldn't even be bothered to watch the Copa America. There was actually zero expectation. Nobody even was bothered to know. And most Brazilians didn't realize that they actually just won the Copa America with this team.
But I think we'll say the Buta part, I think the Baptista goal, I think the 4th minute, I think it disrupted.
Yeah, it happened too early. Too early.
I think if in the match, I think just say like 50-50, I think we would still had a chance. But I think that first goal, 4th minute, I think it was perfect suitably for Dunga. I think like tactic, whatever they say, Steven. I think the defensive counter attack strategy with Alves, Dani Alves and Maicon on the left. I think good luck.
Yeah, Maicon on the right or left. No, he normally plays right back.
Yeah.
And that's Dani Alves also. But I remember as well, this one, the final, Argentina was so impressive in this tournament. They were so good. And I thought, okay, this is the one that they're going to win it. And like what Steven mentioned, the Brazil team was not impressive at all. It was just very ordinary Brazil team. And I thought, in the final, okay, Argentina's going to smash them. At least win them. At least beat them, not smash, but at least beat them. But to see Argentina get smashed instead, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? This is like, you probably feel like Argentina is cursed.
This defeat probably hurt me a bit more compared to many of the other Copas. This one really hurt me a bit more because, as I mentioned earlier, we sent a very strong team. We really thought that this could be the one that will finally, break that long drought of not winning title. We didn't expect that that by then, 2007, the last we won of Copa America was 93. So that itself is already 14 years. Didn't expect it'll take at least another 14 years. Another 14 years from that Copa America to finally win something. So, but that one really hurt. That was one of the few finals that really kind of hurt me the most.
Don't forget, I think there was Uruguay team. I think Sebastian Abreu, you're gonna remember the guy. His goal was. I think they gave fight to Brazil. In fact, I think they
did. They lost on penalties to Brazil in the semi-finals. Diego Forlan was also playing for them.
Yeah, we thought I think a Makan really, but I mean, we got Makantra on the other way around.
Yeah. Mexico also did quite good, but they cannot beat Argentina. They just have an issue playing against Argentina. So yeah, any other teams that stood out for you guys?
Well, of course, Venezuela were impressive enough. I think as the host, they got out of the group stage, probably the first time in their national team history, and they did pretty well. And I think that was also the beginning of Venezuela's sort of like slow rise in the South American football stature. They're slowly beginning to improve and do well and well and well.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
Peru, right?
you're right. Yeah, Bala, you saying?
No, I thought we had Peru, right? I think Peru, we had the Bayern Munich player. I can't recall his name. I think he was
Paulo
Claudio
Guerrero.
Pizarro.
Yeah,
Paulo Guerrero. Yeah, I think he was one of the I think highlight of the tournament. But I think like South because Bayern Munich, they never typically go for like Brazilian or Argentinian. I mean, it's one of the
Was
few
it
things.
Claudio Pizarro? No.
Pizarro, yeah, Claudio Pizarro, yes.
Pizarro was there and Paulo Guerrero was there.
Yes. So
Okay.
I think it's quite an impressive team also they had.
Okay. All right. So that's bring us to the end of the Copa Americas in the 90s and the noughties. So let's go to the Copa America that is going to be hosted in USA, and it will start pretty soon in a day time actually, from when we are recording. The Copa America 2024. What are your expectations, guys? Argentina, the defending champions.
Win.
Huh?
Win. Once, as the saying goes, once you taste victory, the tongues want more. So we are not slowing down just yet. But having said that, it's understandable as defending champion. Every other team will, rise up to the occasion, give a little bit more extra against you. That's expected. That it comes with the territory as not just a reigning Copa America champion, but also a reigning world champion. And I don't expect things to be easy for us, although from the looks of it right now, as long as we win our games, we top our groups, I think our path to the final is pretty clear. Because on the other hand, if Brazil and Uruguay do the same, they're going to end up meeting each other in the semi-final, if I'm not mistaken. So we are just hoping to see that how things would turn up. And of course, being held on US soil, it hasn't been kind to us in the past. In '94, Maradona, got kicked out of the tournament, and it affected Argentina's progress. And then, of course, in 2016, we lost to Chile in the final, in the Copa America final. So hopefully, the third time will be a charm for us, a good charm for us that can finally bury the hatchet on American soil. We'll see.
Any teams to look out for you, Steven?
I think Uruguay. You have Uruguay and Colombia. Uruguay under Marcelo Bielsa, as they've proven during the World Cup qualifier, beating us, beating Brazil. I mean, they showed what they're capable of. And, it's a very interesting matchup to see how Bielsa's style of play with this Uruguay. As you know, Uruguay football is not known for its beauty because they are known for what they call is the gara. Gara means is the tiger. Hardworking, discipline, go and win whatever it takes to win. So they are known for that and they are proud of it. It's
dirty tactics.
Whatever you can call it that way if you want. I mean, it's something ingrained in their psyche when they go out and play football. And there's always this saying, I think if you ask a lot of South American football experts, they'll say that Argentina, because geographically, Uruguay is a very small country sandwiched between two giants, Brazil and Argentina. Brazil and Argentina have their history. Uruguay has its football. And I think it speaks volume in terms of how the game is treasured there. For a country of 4 million people, yet they continue to produce good players after every single generation consistently. And that's a team to look out for. Colombia, because I think they're currently now going on a very long unbeaten run. I think 22 games unbeaten. So that's another team to look out for. Brazil, I mean, Brazil is always Brazil, no matter how you think about it. Some people say this is the worst Brazilian team in a long time. They're sending to the Copa America, but the experience from 2007 tells me something that we don't take them for granted. You don't take them lightly under any circumstances.
Okay. Bala, yourself, what are your expectations?
I think Argentina should at least, I think should at least get the final and win it lah. Because I think the expectation is there. But I think after what Ronaldinho told about Brazil, I think what Steven said, I think lack of everything. I think this would, I would say they're a dark horse lah. I think because I think their ego will be bruised and by their legends. So and then currently the turmoil they're going through. I think the Brazilian players. I think of course I think we're not forget Rodrigo, Vinicius Junior, and also I think a few of the stars there. So I think we
Yeah.
should. I don't know. I think I feeling going to another South American final with Argentina and Brazil, but I think KG there because having experience with them, I still do not want to prefer with them. But Uruguay and
Okay.
Colombia, I think this will be the one of the guys who I think make it, but I don't think they win it. I mean, in my opinion.
All right. Okay. And I want to speak a bit about Brazil as well because I spoke a bit about them being my rivals, international rivals from after 94. And yeah, of course, and during during that time, I wouldn't really appreciate the way Brazil played it. But as the years have gone on, when we've come, I think maybe after World Cup 2006, and after that, you see the way the Brazilian national team has been, is now not been the same. So you kind of now appreciate the way Brazil used to play in the past and the players they produce better now than because of what they have now. In those days, I remember you would always appreciate the Brazilian attackers, the strikers, the attacking midfielders, wingers. These were the ones that you look out for, and people will say, wow, this guy's a great player, that guy's a great player. You will never talk about their defenders or goalkeepers because those were not really the best. But now the best Brazilian players are the goalkeepers and the defenders, which tells you the direction Brazilian football has gone to now. So that is what I feel about Brazil today. And it's sad because that's not their history and that's not what they are known for. And but it is what it is. And what you guys say, after the experience in 2007, you never know. This could be the one where they might spring a surprise and they win it. And as Steven has pointed out, also USA is not being kind for Argentina, so maybe it might not be kind again. You never know again, right?
But for me, I feel I wouldn't say Brazil decline. I would say that the rest of the nation have woken up. So I think Brazil. I think keep on. Of course, you're talking about the goalkeeper good, the defender good. I think they are even attacking like earlier mentioned, Vinicius Junior or Champions League winner.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of up and coming. I think recently, though, I think they signed some guy from Hendrick. So I think the other nations have improved equally with the tactic. I think they were like Japan recently. I think by bashing up everybody. So I feel the level of play has improved significantly. I think even Argentina, when Scaloni was appointed as coach, I thought, what? I mean, to be fair, I don't think he would have won something. But I think technically, I think he did something with his team, which I think favored Messi and co. So I feel
I think this Brazil team has good attackers. I mean, like Bala pointed out, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, and all that. But perhaps the midfielders are not what it used to be, lah. Like the playmaker now, at least Lucas Paqueta. So that tells you, when you think of him, compare him to your Kaká, to your Ronaldinho, to your even Rai in the past, Zico and all that. It tells you just how far things have, declined, or not to say decline, like regress lah. But I think the one
even then, you talk about the attackers, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo. I don't see them as Romario or Ronaldo kind of attacker. Even Neymar, when he was playing in his prime and was doing well, even him also, I felt like there's a lot of air around him, but there's not much substance in the way he plays or the things he produces, the way Romario or Ronaldo did in the past. Because that, for us, that's what we have seen. That's our benchmark when we see Brazilian attackers. And from the generation before, of course, Pelé, one of the greatest ever footballers, he's the top most Brazilian player, so to speak. That is when you talk about strikers, that is the best ever. So, in that sense, I just don't feel the Brazil team has that. They maybe have this, what you call wingers lah. When nowadays wingers are becoming scorers, attackers, goal scoring wingers rather than assisting wingers. So it's okay, I guess, in a modern day football, but still, and you look out for one number 9, number striker, but I don't think Brazil have that.
I think not only Brazil, I think in worldwide,
Yeah, correct.
I would say there's none. I think Harry Kane,
Yeah.
Vlahovic,
Haaland,
Haaland, I think that's it.
Lewandowski, and Benzema are still there.
Lewandowski,
But they are
Lewandowski all already
getting
prime
on.
already. You see?
Yeah.
I think these are the first. I think
The Dutch
anyone
goal scorer.
Workhorse.
Ah,
I mean, I think it's more than not a South American problem. I think
these are like the last relics of what they call the classic number 9s lah.
Yeah.
Number 9s that were always up there, having that predatory kind of role, waiting for the right moment to pounce in lah. Because
Yeah.
nowadays, as you know, that your striker is expected to drop down, your defender is expected to go up, press high up, those kind of things. I don't know if this is how. I don't know too sure how this way of football is going to continue. I always believe that there will be a change in a different era. I hope in times to come, somebody will restore back order in the way that how the traditional way of how footballers should play the game lah.
Yeah.
thanks to Pep, Pep.
Pep and his overthinking.
No, I think other nations have. As I say, I think that day I was talking to this guy. I think other nations have forgotten their root and started to follow this. I think Pep, or what the Jurgen press. I think
high pressing game, yeah.
Italy should favor their way. Argentina should play their way. I mean, this is classic themselves, is it?
Yeah.
So when they change, I think that's what happens. The disasters that happens in terms of Brazil. Argentina, I think we're lucky to have a good coach, but I think other than that, I think not so fortunate lah.
All right, so that's expectations. All the best to Argentina. But I think before we end, I remember there's a request to name your all-time Copa America team. Who want to go first?
You want to go first, Bala?
Okay, since thank you for the honor. I think half of the squad will be Argentina.
Because I think you already got yours prepared and ready, so you're ready to go.
Okay, I think half of me was Argentina player, but I think go through first. I think goalkeeper I go for Chilave. I think with some of you go. I think Montero. My formation 3-5-2. I mean the classic Southern football with one playmaker and one defensive midfielder. So I'm going with Paulo Montero, Dunga, and Oscar Ruggeri, filling up with the back three.
Dunga.
Dunga, yeah. I think he's one of the. I think would say I think Lucio, another kind of guy who hit himself and go to the upfront, that kind of mentality. But I try to mix as much as possible. Then I think left midfield I would give Francis Colli. Then a defensive midfielder I would give Redondo. And then a MC I would give Riquelme. I think more on the exposure kind of thing. And then a right midfield I would give Zanetti. So basically I have Francis Colli on the left, moving up and then Zanetti coming on the right to support. Then the AMC I'll give Messi, and up front I think I'll give Ronaldo 9, and also of course Badi Sousa, my favorite player.
Nice.
This would be my completing my South American player. Of course, I think I would consider Carlo, Valderrama, Pele, Maradona. Not include the list because I think I don't want to put them to mix it up the current generation. This is from the 90s to the 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Steven?
Okay, my lineup is going to... Okay, I'll tell you my formation first. It's going to be a 3 center back, 2 wing back, 3 midfielders, and 2 attackers. And I've challenged myself in such a way that I would not name a single player, a player from the same country twice.
Okay.
Alright, so my keeper is Jorge Campos. My 3 center back is Diego Godin, Carlos Gamara, and Juan Manuel Pena. I don't know whether you guys still remember the last name or not. Bolivia guys, yes. For my right back is Mauricio Isla. I don't know whether you guys remember this Chilean footballer.
Yeah.
And then left back, I gave Roberto Carlos. My midfielder is Carlos Valderrama, Juan Arango, and Noberto Solano.
Arango is Colombian.
Venezuela.
Venezuela, right? Venezuela.
I think he used to play for. I remember he's a very prominent player in the Bundesliga.
Hmm.
And my two attackers is Agustin Delgado and Daniel Messi.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. So for me, I've gone 4-4-2, but I think there are some gaps to be filled here. So 4-4-2, I'm going to go with Shilavet. I follow Bala. Shilavet, number one for me, the goalkeeper. Zanetti at right back. Centre back, I'm going to go for Roberto Ayala. I like the way he played. You know, of course, I love Samuel. I love Lucio. But I will not choose either of them. I will go with, I think, Rafa Marquez alongside Roberto Ayala. So there you have it. I will have two ball playing centre backs. Left back, gotta go with Roberto Carlos. I don't think there is anyone else that comes to mind. Right wing, I'm gonna go
Sorin, I think.
Sorin, yeah, of course. But I
Carlos
think
more
Roberto
prominent.
Carlos a bit more lah. Yeah. Right wing, I'm gonna go with Ronaldinho on the right wing. 'Cause when he started off in earlier years, he was a right winger. He was quite flying as a right winger. So I'll go with him. Center, I'll go with my favorite Juan Veron in center midfield.
Verona.
Yeah, Veron in midfield. Center back, center mid alongside him. I will go with another Argentinian, Redondo. Because he can sit, he can screen, he can pass, and he's classy. I just love the way he plays. So gotta go with Redondo. Left wing, I'm struggling a bit on left wing actually. Not too sure who I can go with.
Rivaldo, Francescoli. Rivaldo, Francescoli.
Rivaldo, not quite. I don't see Rivaldo as a left winger. I see more as a playmaker. Francescoli the same. Any Mexican guys? Maybe what I'll do is I'll probably have the three instead of having 4-4-2 in midfield. I go with three then. So Ronaldinho, Veron, and Redondo. Quite attacking minded midfield. Then I'll go with Salas, Zamorano, and Ronaldo up front. No Chilean yet. So these two, I mean, in terms of partnership, I spoke about Romario, Ronaldo having a great partnership. Salas and Zamorano had a fantastic partnership as well. They brought Chile out there in that late 90s period. So those two have to be mentioned. And honorary mentions for people like Blanco and Hernandez of Mexico, Romario, Rivaldo. So many great players. I might have missed out as well. Others, Batistuta, Crespo, those were also fantastic players. So, a lot of players that we watch. Santa Cruz, yes, that is another one.
Erwin Sanchez from Bolivia.
Erwin Sanchez, yeah, is quite a good player as well. Yeah, so those are this is Adriano, yeah. Oh, Adriano, yes. Leonardo also, Leonardo of Brazil, I think was quite good on the wings.
Leonardo, Kaká. At least just.
Yeah, Kaká, yeah. Kaká,
I think you have one country itself, Argentina, Brazil, their own dream team as well.
Yeah. I also, like Steven, I was trying to do it in such a way that maybe all the countries can be represented. He mentioned Solano. Peru had also, Pizarro also was a good player.
Another guy, Jefferson Fafan.
Jefferson Fafan, yes.
Playing for Ajax, right? PSV or Ajax?
PSV.
And what they call it? Chile. Okay, we spoke about Chile in this era that we spoke about 90s and 2000s. But then the one that won the back-to-back Copa America, there was a player called Jorge Valdivia. I love watching him. Yeah, I will love watching him play. I was like, when I was watching him play, I was thinking, how did this guy not get a club in Europe? Or why didn't we watch him play more often in Europe? He's such a good player. So classy on the ball. And they had this guy called Eduardo Vargas, who always performed for Chile, but not for his club sides.
Yep.
And yeah, Alexis Sanchez in his prime also was very good. And
another Inter Milan player, right?
Yeah, Arturo Vidal was also very good in his prime. So
Aranguiz.
Yeah, so many great South American players that we managed to watch in the past. I mean, I'm sorry, but nowadays I don't feel we have that kind of talent. But that is also an issue that is with world football, not just South American football. I think all around the world, when you watch football nowadays, we don't get that kind of star player, star quality coming out at us, because I think football has gone to being a more physical sport. There's a lot to do with playing high intensity, having good stamina, strength, speed. That you forget a lot of times the players, I think they have like forgotten a lot about the technical ability, the passing, the dribbling, the being able to play free, roaming around. Oh, I'm talking about that Riquelme. What a great player he was as well. So that's another one, an epitome of that kind of player that you cannot shackle him, tell him you must go here, press him, you must go there. You cannot tell him to do that. You must let him free and play. So these kind of players we have lost. Yep. So that's me. My verbal diarrhea is over. So
Yep. I mean, two names that I think we can look out for in the future when it comes to South America. From Brazil is a player called named Enrique. He's in the Copa America squad. 17-year-old. Again, I don't want to put it in such a way like he's the real deal. But he's a name definitely that I mean, he's already on. I believe he's already signed with Real Madrid.
Yes,
you can see Real Madrid's future. What's it going to be like? They already have Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Enrique, and not to mention the fact that some guy called Kylian Mbappe is joining them soon. So this Real Madrid squad team in the future is going to be very interesting. And from an Argentinian side, the player that I would like to see progress in the future, I've seen him in person as a 16-year-old with Argentina in the last Under-17 World Cup. Claudio Echeverri. So hopefully
the squad. He's in the squad.
No, he's not in the squad. Not yet. Still young, too young. I mean, because you see, for his role, he's probably a number 10 guy. He's going to play in that same role as Messi. So it's not really his time yet, lah. So
Carboni, another guy, right?
Okay, of course, in this Copa America squad, Carboni and Garnacho are the two young names to look out for, standout young players to look out for. The thing is with South American football now is because many of the young players are getting pushed by European clubs at a very, very young age. And, it's not like before when you hear, there's a mystical thing about their names when you hear them in South America before they come over to Europe. But now, with the way football is, with the way the bigger European clubs are going around sourcing for talent, if they can identify a player at a very young age of 13, 14, they end up bringing the player, putting into the academy and all that. So, it takes away a little bit that gloss that we used to have in the past.
Because I think the problem also, because the EPL team, I think they're too rich. So countries they need to go faster and scout this fella.
I mean, it's their way of trying to make sure that they keep the pipeline. They make sure the talent is in their pipeline, not anywhere else.
I think like Real Madrid, wouldn't have won Champions League because I think the policy now they're using very good policy, like getting a young player at the right time. I think they're going to struggle with the English teams.
Yep. All right. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks a lot, guys, for sharing your memories. And once again, I wish you guys all the best in the Copa America for your beloved Argentina and everyone else listening and watching this episode. If you get the chance to watch the Copa America, good for you. Because I don't think we'll get it in Singapore. There's no way we're going to watch it here. There's no one's showing it live, unfortunately. But we'll, of course, be catching up on the highlights, YouTube and all. We can get that. So we'll, of course, catch up on the highlights and the scores. And all the best. And
thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. And all the best to the Azuris in the Euro.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we need all the luck we can get.
Yeah, you have an Argentinian in your team. Trust him.
I think as a Euro, I'm supporting Italy as usual. So I feel that because Italy always have good memories in Germany. So let's see, ball is round. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, let's see. Okay. All right. Good luck, guys. Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye.